Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today we're going to check in on my series goal. At the beginning of the year, I made a goal to finish as many series as I start this year. One of the things I've noticed with series is that I tend to enjoy them if I finish them in quick succession. So if I wait a really long time to finish a series, I lose some information and I just get less enjoyment out of the continuation. And so I wanted to make myself a goal this year that I would continue to push myself to read the series that I've already started. That way those books don't suffer from me essentially procrastinating to finish them. So at the beginning of 2023, I started with 19 series that I was continuing on with. I believe my original video said 17, but I had forgotten a couple of series. And so the true number is 19. So of those 19, I have completed 8 and I DNF'd one series. I decided I wasn't going to continue on with it. And I have been caught up on 2. So I'm not counting the caught up books as like a completion of a series. And so that doesn't count towards my goal as far as I'm not saying that if I'm caught up on a series that's going to allow me to start another one. But I still wanted to state like where the series were so I know like which ones I have or which ones I can actively continue or which ones I'm waiting on new releases. Within 2023, I have started 11 new series. Of those 11, I've already completed one. So one series, that is the Blade itself, or the First Law trilogy, I did complete already. I haven't completed like all of that universe, like the series and continuation, but the first trilogy, the First Law trilogy, I have completed this year. So I completed one and I DNF'd one. And truly, I probably DNF'd and started more series, or I should say I've started more than 11 series and DNF'd more than one, but I only counted the series that I planned on continuing with or I did continue with. So the one DNF that I have for the books that I've started in, or the series that I've started in 2023 was a series that I read the first 2 books and then decided I'm not going to continue with. That was the Never After series. I just decided it wasn't for me and so I won't be continuing with that series. So there were several series that I started and read book 1 and then decided I wasn't going to continue on, and I just didn't count those towards my count because I thought that was, I started a series, yes, but I also completed a series and so it was kind of a wash. So I didn't include those in these numbers. Of those 11 books that I started in 2023, I also am caught up on 5 of those series. A lot of the series that I started this year are new, and so I've read the first book and we're waiting for the second book, and so that's why the caught up with number is so much higher than the series that I had started with at the beginning of the year. So overall, as of this moment, I am able to continue on actively with 12 different series. So those are series that I'm not caught up with that I either started this year or already had on my TBR, and I had already been, trucking along through them. So I have 12 series that I'm currently actively in the middle of. I have 7 series that I am in the middle of, but I cannot actively move on because I'm caught up with the amount of books that are published currently. And so I have 7 series that I am just waiting for the next book. So that means that in total, I still have 19 series that I am continuing on with, which I'm shocked by. I really thought that I hadn't done as good of a job as I wanted to the first half of the year. I thought that I had started way more series than I ended, but because of the few DNFs that I've had and some of the fact that I finished one of the series that I started has really helped with keeping my number to that 19. So far this year, I've met my goal of finishing as many series as I've started. So yay. At the end of the year, I will have kind of more stats on the series that I've completed, but I didn't want to do that in this video. I just wanted to do kind of a short snippet of my goal. And then at the end of the year, I'll talk about like the ratings of the series and things like that. I did want to give you guys kind of a series highlight though. So I want to talk about, of the series that I finished, which 3 are my top 3 so far. And then I also wanted to give you guys which ones am I most excited to continue with. My top 3 series that I have finished this year, starting with number 3, the Bladesmith. So this is by Tricia Levenseller, who I've absolutely adored her books. She's fast becoming like one of the authors, like my auto-buy authors that I'll pick up whatever she writes, because her books are very nostalgic, which is odd because I mean, it's not like I read her books when I was younger, but when I read one of her books, I just feel like coming home. They're very heartwarming and cozy for me. So the Bladesmith has 2 books, and I'm pretty sure it's a complete duology. I don't think that there's going to be any continuations. So the first book is Blade of Secrets, and the second book is Master of Iron. And I've talked about this a little bit, but I'll give you guys a brief synopsis. So you follow Ziva, who is a magical blacksmith, and in her world, magical blacksmiths or magical people in general are kind of rare. And so she's kind of famous in the fact that people will come from all around to get her to create a magical weapon for them. So she can imbue these weapons to do all of these different kind of cool things. She has some that, like, if you throw them, they automatically come back to you. She has created weapons that will shatter anything in existence. Like, there's all these different traits that she can give to these magical weapons. And she has someone come into her shop and ask for a weapon, that's greater than all other weapons. And she makes the weapon, but then decides that it might be a little bit too powerful, and some things are hinting to her that something might not quite be right with the person who asked for this weapon, and she is afraid that her giving this weapon away would put people in danger. And so she kind of takes it upon herself to travel and escape this situation. And so you follow her journey in making this decision. One of the things I've really enjoyed about this series is the anxiety rep. The main character is, sorry, my cat is messing with my lights again. You follow the main character who is very anxious, socially anxious. She does not enjoy being around people. She gets very flustered easily, which is in contrast with the fact that she is a blacksmith and kind of in this realm or this world or workforce that is known to have very confident, masculine, big personalities. And so she has to deal with her own anxiety, her own insecurities throughout the book, and you kind of get to be in her head. And I really appreciated her point of view. It was very relatable. There's also a bit of a romance in the book, and you see this relationship kind of bloom and blossom, and the amount of inner dialogue and the little bits and pieces of how anxiety can make you doubt just simple interactions was really, I liked that representation in the book. So this is my 3rd top rated series that I finished so far. The number 2 top series is the Farseer Trilogy. And so that is these 3 books right here. These are my illustrated editions. I feel like I've been reading this series forever. I do plan on continuing in this world with Rob and Hobb. I can't remember how many books total there are, but the first trilogy, I'm considering this a complete trilogy because I've finished the first 3. The second series, I believe, is called The Live Ship Traders, and I will get to that eventually. I just haven't started it yet. So if you've never heard of the Farseer Trilogy, you start with a boy named Fitz, and you grow up with him throughout these books. And this is not going to be the end of Fitz's story. The Live Ship Traders does not focus on Fitz, but then I think the series after, I think it goes, Rob and Hobb goes back and forth on focusing on Fitz and then focusing on different aspects of the world. So you get to see part of Fitz's life through these 3 books. And Fitz is the bastard son of a prince. And he is dropped off at the kind of stable master's house, or I think it was a tavern that they were at, and is told, I can't take care of this kid anymore. He's your problem now. And so they journey to the castle where the king and the prince is. And some things happen where his father is not available to him. I don't want to give that part away. And so he becomes kind of the king's ward, and you see a lot of political components of him essentially not being able to rule his own life because of the fact that he is nobility, even though he's not accepted as a noble because of his impure blood. And so you get to follow the events in his life. This is a really fun series, or I shouldn't even say that. It's a really depressing and heart-wrenching series, but I really enjoyed being with Fitz and seeing him grow and push for his own life and to make his own choices and to battle within himself about his loyalty to his kingdom, but then also his loyalty to himself, and see kind of those things clash in his life. Robin Hobb definitely knows how to make your heart hurt. So be prepared if you do pick up this series to have a few tears, because there are definitely some sad things that happen to Fitz along the way. But I really enjoy the realism of that in a way. Like, so many bad things happen, and even though he is the protagonist and you're rooting for him, it's not always going to go his way. And so I like that aspect of this. There is also a magic system. This is a fantasy series. There's two magic systems. One where people can communicate with animals, and this is kind of a magic that is looked down upon in society. And then you have the sight. So that was the wit. And then you have the sight for Farseer, and they can communicate with people across distances. And so you kind of get to see those two magic systems at play as well. So that's my number 2 top series that I finished so far. My top series that I completed this year is the Drown Empire, or the Drowning Empire, I think is what it's called, and those are right here. So I did complete the 3rd book, The Bone Shard War, this month, and I do still think that my favorite book in the series is book number 1. I think book number 1 has a lot of genre bending components to it. The first book has a lot of horror aspects along with it, whereas I think book 2 and book 3 are more fantasy based. But I did still really enjoy this series. I've talked about this a lot on my channel, but you focus on 5 main characters in the first book. The main character is the Emperor's daughter, who is having memory issues, and the second kind of main character is he's someone who is searching for someone around the empire, and you get to see, he's kind of a contract worker, and so you get to see him. The fact that we have 5 perspectives, you get to see a lot of the different pieces of this empire, because this is an island setting, and so they're not all at one location. And so because of the fact that we do have 5 perspectives, you get to see kind of the kingdom as a whole. But the main perspective, the Emperor's daughter, has memory problems, and she has to figure out, essentially she has to remember in order to succeed her father. And so there is kind of a clash between her and I believe her stepbrother for the throne, and she is desperate to learn the bone shard magic, which her father uses to kind of control the empire. And you also have some weird things happening within the empire itself. So you have some islands that are sinking and you don't know why, and so there's that mystery going on. There's also a really cute animal companion in this series. I think what I missed from the first one in number 2 and number 3 in this series was the horror component, and kind of in book 1, you're very much at a loss for what's happening, and there are creepy things, and so there's so much questioning and you trying to figure out the main mystery that and you figure it out by the end of book 1. I missed that component in the other 2 books. But the other 2 storylines, they're not separate storylines, but the other 2 books continuing on with that story, because of the fact that we'd already figured out the mysteries, I just missed that part in those 2 books. I still enjoyed the other 2, but not as much as the first. The last thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is the top 3 series that I am most excited to continue on with. And I'm cheating a little bit, and I'm going to give you guys 4 instead of 3 because I couldn't choose between 2 of them. So we'll start with number 3. So number 3 is The Goblin Emperor. And I actually didn't realize that this was a series when I picked it up. I thought it was a standalone. So I was I was excited that it was a series, but also kind of like, oh man, I picked up another series without realizing it. So I thought I was in trouble. But I really enjoyed this book. You follow, I'm not going to be able to remember the main character's name, but you follow a boy who is half goblin, half elf, I think. And he is the 5th son of the emperor. I believe he has 4 younger brothers who are in more line for the throne because they are the sons of the current queen. And he has kind of been separated from society. His father doesn't want anything to do with him. He was not trained to be an emperor, and something happens where his father and all of his brothers are killed, and he is made emperor. And so the book is about him kind of bumbling through this new power that he has and trying to figure out how to manage and do what's best for his kingdom, and also keep himself safe, because he doesn't know if whoever killed his father and brothers is also going to kill him. And so he has this power dynamic going on, and it's a very political book. But I don't know why this book seemed very cozy to me, and I just loved the main character. He was just adorable. I loved the fact that he was so naive, and also he yearns for friendship throughout the book. And it's very sad for him to kind of realize that being in power, you are kind of limited on who you can confide in and who your friends are. And for him to kind of learn that is really sad realization. And for him to kind of strive for that throughout the book, you get to see his process and his mourning his past life, and then also embracing the new one. So I really enjoyed this series. I'm excited to continue on with it. In the number 2 spot, I have 2 books for you guys because I couldn't separate them, because they are kind of similar, or very similar in my mind, and that is The Memoirs of Lady Trent and Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries. I've talked about these 2 books quite a bit recently, so I won't give you guys too much information. The Memoirs of Lady Trent, you follow Lady Trent, who is a dragon hunter and documenter, and so the books are written in such a way that it is her memoir. So she is of an older age now, and she is a very well-renowned dragon documenter. She has studied dragons her entire life, and she's giving you her life story as to how she came about that. She lives in a society where women are kind of supposed to stay in their own lane. They're supposed to be very homely, take care of, don't do the dirty work. You're supposed to be at home, be safe, stay out of men's ways. And so it's kind of about her figuring out how to study these things, these beings that she loves, while society is telling her that it's not something that she should do. And she gets into some kind of cantankerous situations. And I've just had a lot of fun with the series. It's very cozy. Once again, that seems to be something that I'm drawn to. It's very heartwarming, and I've really enjoyed it. Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries follows Emily, who is trying to document all of the different fae in the world, and she's creating an encyclopedia. At the very beginning of the book, she starts out as someone who really does not like people. She just kind of wants to be left alone. She wants to work on her studies and be left to her own devices. And she has a coworker who is the exact opposite, who ends up traveling with her, which she was not anticipating. And they together study the fae that are in this land that no one else has studied before, and get to see some nefarious circumstances within the fae. And then you get to see kind of her growth arc along the way as well. So, and I won't give any more than that, but this is another one, very cozy. I loved this story. I'm excited. There is a second book coming out next year, so I'm excited to continue this one as well. And number 1 on my list of series that I'm most excited to continue with, The Saint of Steel. I'm going to talk about this a lot in a vlog that I'm going to put out, I think, on Saturday, and so I'm not going to talk much about it here. I just completed the second book in the series, Paladin's Strength. The first book is Paladin's Grace. These books are fantasy, romance, / a little bit of horror in them as well. And you follow, in the first book, Stephen and Grace. Stephen is a paladin who has lost his god and has kind of become feared by people around him, because paladins who have lost their god become a little unstable, and so society kind of fears him. They still consider him honorable because of the fact that he is a paladin, but he has his own kind of struggles for that. And you have Grace, who is a scent maker who really just wants to be left to her own devices. But there are some weird things going on within the society. Bodies are showing up, and decapitations are showing up, and you don't really know what's going on. And so within the fantasy world, you get to see kind of this mystery, and then Grace and Stephen get pulled in and you get to see their relationship bloom. My camera stopped recording, so I'm not quite sure where I stopped. But the second book in the series, you follow two new characters who are still a paladin and a girl, and you're still solving the mystery within the fantasy world. The second book was absolutely hilarious. The first book I thought was funny as well, but the second book had me rolling laughing. I was laughing out loud at a whole bunch of different scenes. And so I've really enjoyed the series. The kind of weird aspects of horror being mixed in with fantasy romance and the awkward banter between the characters has been a lot of fun. So I'm excited to complete the trilogy with the next book in the series. So those are my series stats and my series highlights for you guys. I will do another video like this at the end of the year. If you guys have completed any series or have started any series that you're really excited about, let me know what they are in the comments down below. I'd love to chat with you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.